Right, now we're going to get into a story that, well, you won't get much coverage of in the mainstream legacy media. I noticed that last night on the two major news bulletins, that's News Hub and One News, they both covered the cultural outrage of some nice young soccer players from Spain, some young women, having a bit of fun on social media, supposedly doing their version of a haka or messing a haka up. Completely and utterly harmless fun. But, oh no, social media outrage. And we had both major TV channels dispatching reporters, spending, I imagine, thousands of dollars to get some Maori academic saying he was upset and offended by the Spanish team, and they'd taken it down. And it was a scandal. It was an outrage. It was worthy of coverage in the main news bulletins of our two major TV channels. Amazing. Not so prominent was a social media story that actually is causing outrage amongst a much larger number of people, and could indeed present a commercial risk to one of our major publicly listed companies, telcos, being formerly Telecom Spark. In case you haven't caught up with this, in case you're not one of the 9% of people on Twitter, and in case you're not into this, and because you've been living in the legacy media dream world, tell you what's happened. Last week, I think Friday it was, Chanel Lal, who you may have heard of, you might think of him as Young New Zealander of the Year. Many people think of him as obnoxious misogynist who encourages people to beat people up in public spaces. But Chanel Lal was talking about, and once again, there may be many of you who don't know about this, he was talking about Threads, or Thread, which is a new social media platform set up by Mark Zuckerberg to challenge Twitter. Because everyone thinks Twitter is too rational, too normal, allows too much free speech, and all the wokes hate Twitter. So Mark Zuckerberg has set up Threads. And Chanel Lal, this guy, Chanel Lal, said he hoped that Threads would not allow TERFs, that's people who question or criticise woke gender ideology, would not allow TERFs on Threads. So he was calling for the exclusion of a group of people from a social media platform. And Spark, which has a social media manager who appears to be as woke as you can be and has a partner who writes for the spin-off, the social media manager comes out and says, yeah, we're with Chanel on this. This new social media platform should exclude people that we disagree with. And that sparked, excuse the pun, an outrage online. And has led to a number of people, though we can't say how many, saying they're going to boycott Spark, and that Spark's attitude in supporting Chanel Lal was intolerant and not appropriate for a public company. We don't know how big the boycott's been. We know that 1.5 million Spark shares were traded yesterday, tiny drop in their market value. And Spark issued a statement kind of clarifying, trying to walk back their wokeness, but not actually apologising. Internal documents that have been published about Spark show that they are concerned about the customer backlash from this. They are concerned about possibly becoming the next Bud Light, if you know about that controversy. And that they did recognise that Chanel Lal's views were extreme, which is something. But as they walked them back, and as people said, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go from Spark to One New Zealand or to 2 Degrees, which is silly because Vodafone or One New Zealand then come out and say, we don't want TERFs, we don't want the people who are going to boycott Spark for this outrage to be our customers, you can bugger off. And the real problem is that all our telcos appear to have the woke infection. 2 Degrees is associated with Chanel Lal. One New Zealand, formerly Vodafone, is so woke it got me fired from my last mainstream job. And And, of course, we have this person as head of social media on Spark who is as woke as they come. So what's the point of all this? And is there any point in getting outraged about it? Well, so one person who's been very vocal about all this is Bob McCroskey, the CEO of the lobby group Family First New Zealand. And Bob joins us on the line now. Bob, nice to have you with us. Welcome to the platform.
Yeah, morning, Sean. Good to be here.
All right. Well, firstly, is this really the big deal that it might appear to be if you're a Twitter follower?
Well, I think it's a big deal for anybody who wants to purchase anything from a company without being given a side serving of wokeness and being told how to think and how to identify their sexuality or gender or basically criticised for not being a climate alarmism. That's what people are getting sick of. And I think this, in the same way that Bud Light was really just the tip of an iceberg of a lot of dissatisfaction which carried on from Disney and then moved on to Target, I think the Spark issue has actually highlighted that there's a whole lot of people that are sick and tired of being lectured about what to think and how to think. And they've had this frustration with both the legacy media, and now it's crept into the corporate world. And I think that what's happened over the weekend is just people are sick and tired. I mean,
how many people though, Bob? Because you've got to be really careful here that you're not operating inside your own echo chamber.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you simply raise the issue. I mean, that's what I did on Saturday morning, which is when it all blew up. Somebody sent me a screenshot of what Spark had said, totally unprompted, not even questioned about it. They just jumped in and immediately supported on this new platform Threads, this derogatory use of the term TERF, which is designed to shut down anybody who may question or disagree with gender ideology. It's designed to shut down women who believe that only women can be a biological woman and that men, no matter how hard they try, cannot be a woman and cannot breastfeed and cannot give birth and, don't have periods. So anybody who thinks in that biological sense is given this derogatory term, a TERF. Now, when I saw this post, I just simply went back onto the mainstream Twitter and just tagged in Spark, and I just said, hey, look, interested to know, is this your official stance? Because there's a whole lot of families that are interested to know. And it did explode. And what I found ironic, Sean, is that it trended in the top topics over the whole weekend, even beating the All Blacks and the Warriors for quite a bit of a weekend.
Yeah, and I must admit, I watched it, Bob, because only 9% of New Zealanders are on Twitter, right?
True, but the media go to Twitter for their news
Yeah,
stories.
but that's because they're useless, lazy children, that's why.
But here's the interesting thing, Sean, is that they refused to report on it until late last night when I think they had no option because it had become mainstream. Here's the real question, Sean. Why didn't the mainstream media want to report on this? Two reasons. One is that they would have to acknowledge that a huge proportion of New Zealanders oppose the use of the word TERF and actually agree with people who don't support the gender ideology being served up. But here's a second important reason. The media love Chanel Lal and they don't want to criticise.
I don't love him, Bob.
Well, you're not the mainstream media, that's why.
Oh, I used to be. Well, until Vodafone got me fired from Magic Talk, which is what happened. Because I wasn't
and I think,
woke enough for them.
Yeah, and that's what you call cancel culture. Anybody who disagrees with a particular stance needs to be completely destroyed, and they won't give up until they see you completely destroyed and out of the job. What we're calling for is simply that it's a boycott, which is different. But
the problem, Bob, is, and I've said this online, and we've had a bit of I don't know if we had a Donnybrook, it's a debate. Bob, who are you going to go to if you don't use Spark? You're going to go to One New Zealand. They have come out in the last 24 hours, and they've doubled down on, while Spark's trying to walk this back. One New Zealand is saying, if you're going to come to us because you don't like Spark's attitude on TERFs, we don't want you as customers. They've doubled down.
Yeah. Yeah, and what we're finding is a number of
Chanel
telcos,
Ryle is on the board of 2 Degrees, who provide financial support to his weird campaigning. So 2 Degrees are out of the question. I'm sorry, is there an unwoke telco in New Zealand? I don't think so.
Well, that's the million-dollar question. There have been some companies that have been suggested. So that's exactly one project that we're working on at the moment. It's called wokup.nz, and it's a website we're developing where we will identify, companies that are serving up wokeness when you purchase something, and people may prefer to stay clear of them, and other companies that are just willing to do business with you, which is what most people prefer. For example, in the United States, the media company Daily Wire, they promote heavily a company called Pure Talk, which is a alternative to all the wokester telecos over in the United States. So, look, there's a massive market awaiting for some company who's willing to come out and just say, we're not going to serve you up with an additional side.
So, but in the current market, Bob, you're not stopping Wokism by switching from Spark to One New Zealand, are you?
Well, both those companies seem to be aligned with the same ideology.
Or 2 Degrees. So where do you go?
Yeah.
Where do you go, Bob?
Well,
so why bother calling for a boycott? Why not just say to the company you're with, don't be such a bunch of so-and-sos?
Watch the space, and I'll come back to you with some companies that people have found aren't serving up wokeness when you purchase their products.
Okay.
And that's the search that we need to do, not only for banks, but we also need to do it for power companies, for, providers, supermarkets. I mean, for example, Countdown is plenty woke. In fact, every time you went into Countdown, I think last month, you could round up the amount you were paying, and it was sent off to Rainbow Youth to indoctrinate your kids with gender ideology. So these are some of the things that a lot of people are not aware of, and I just think an informed purchaser is a good purchaser if they know exactly what they're supporting and where the money is going.
Yeah. All right. The other thing is, philosophically speaking, you are yourself engaging in cancel culture with this sort of behaviour, with the boycott call, aren't you?
No, it's very different.
Really? How?
Because cancel culture is about taking out a person whose views you disagree with and basically destroying their livelihood. And let me name a person, Sean Plunket. That is cancel culture. They want to cancel the person and shut them down and not...
And I will admit, Bob, that we are facing, while we've got an excellent product, we deliver an amazing audience in a very hard-to-reach market, we are being discriminated against by media buying agencies and advertising agencies. We have cases where company CEOs really want to advertise with us for a variety of reasons, and their lanyard-wearing minor staff and middle management staff who are woke are deliberately frustrating them. And that is a real issue we are dealing with in the marketplace at the platform.
So you will benefit from our research because we'll find some companies that are interested in just supporting the platform because of public awareness.
Hopefully I benefit by doing my job properly and just overcoming a-holes, to be honest, Bob. But, Bob, the other thing I'd say is this is a big boat to try and turn around. This isn't a recent trend. This has been going on for a decade or more. And people are now entrenched in these beliefs that companies do have to be woke. There's this ESG philosophy that's used. Rainbow Tick, strangely enough, run by Ngāti Whātua, Rainbow Tick is an organisation that is basically a woke protection racket that promises to destroy your business if you don't sign up with them, get the tick, and then let them run your HR and be your moral compass.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is that we've sat back and just let it happen. It's happened very subtly, but it's clear for everybody to see now. And so it's time to push back, and we're happy to be part of that pushback. I think what you saw over the weekend was a very strong pushback. I mean, to the extent where Spark sort of backtracked, but not to the satisfaction of most people because they refused to renounce, one, their association with the derogatory term TERF, and secondly, their association with an activist who is, posts the most vile stuff. And it's just constant, and none of these companies are willing to identify that. So, look, I think there will be pushback. The fact that Spark did respond shows that they were feeling uncomfortable yesterday, and consumers just need to continue to make good choices.
Well, what would you say to people who are going to One New Zealand instead of Spark when One New Zealand are now worse?
Well, the reason they're going there is because they never realised that One New Zealand also were down this track. So that's the whole education side of things, Sean. We're certainly not going to tell people who to businesses to support. We're not saying that Spark should go bust. We're simply saying an informed consumer is a good consumer.
Are you also saying that corporates and companies should stay the hell out of these issues?
Well, it's interesting. It's actually an area that we're going to commission some polling on, because I saw some out of the United States, surprisingly, where 73% of respondents said that they would prefer companies stay out of controversial social and cultural issues and just, continue with business. Now, look, I haven't got a problem. Companies have every right to take these stances if they want to. Spark has every right to go down this track and label TERFs and say that they don't want to deal with TERFs. If Spark want to do that, we just want families, we want women, and we want anybody who believes in biology to know that that is Spark's attitude and make their purchase accordingly. An informed purchaser is a good purchaser.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, Bob. Bob, you're
coming on side, Sean. I can hear you.
No, I'm not. I'm doing my job. I'm trying to explore these issues. I'm also saying there is the real possibility, Bob, that something else will take over interest on Twitter in the next 2 days, and this trend will disappear, as trends in Twitter often do, and it will all just kind of fade into the background.
Well, we'll keep highlighting companies that are serving up this wokeness, but I do think, Sean, you need to take into account there is a level of angst and action amongst people who are sick of getting served wokeness with their purchase, and I think you saw that over the weekend. I mean, even I was surprised.
Well, I was amazed at the television news channels last night. News Hub wrote a story. The Herald did a story kind of supporting Chanel Lal. Stuff did a very factual story because I don't think they could deny what was happening on social media. But both TV1 and TV3, or News Hub and One News, decided that some nice young Spanish soccer players having a bit of fun online was more scandalous and more of an outrage than the controversy over Chanel Lal.
Well, I read the New Zealand Herald report, and it was a shocker, because it basically defended one of their own, and I thought it was hopelessly biased. But unfortunately, that's where we're at. So, and that's why places like the Platform are doing very well. Thank you very much. And
in a woke environment. Someone's just said wokeup.co.nz doesn't work. Is that a work in progress?
No. It's coming. It's wokeup.nz, and it's coming.
.nz, not .co.nz, just wokeup.nz. Okay, well, there you go. There's another Bob actually checking that out. Bob, thanks for joining me, and thanks for being prepared to debate this. I might add, I issued a blanket invitation to One New Zealand and Spark to come on and talk about this today, and they did not. So at least you are prepared to enter the debate. Two final questions for you. Are you on Threads?
Yeah, I've gone on Threads to have a bit of fun and to wind up the left.
Okay, and it's largely a lefty echo chamber, is it, Threads?
Massive.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, that's great. And the other thing, who's your phone with, Bob?
It's with Two Talk.
What?
Oh, sorry. No, my phone service at the office is and broadband is with Two Talk. My Wi-Fi at home was currently with Spark. Guess what? It's they've just lost a customer. So I'm just taking simple actions. I'm an informed consumer and making purchases according to my values, and that's what we encourage all purchasers to do.
Bob, I thank you for joining me today and having a good yarn. And, well, good luck to you. Thank you very much.
Keep in touch.
Cheers.
Thanks, Sean.
Bob McCroskey, CEO of Family First New Zealand. Storm in a teacup, or does it worry you? And as I can say, I know what cancel culture is. Vodafone, as it was then, One New Zealand, basically had me fired from my last job, and the Rainbow Tick people were involved in that as well, and I'm happy to say that without fear of contradiction. I knew exactly what happened. But part of me says that wasn't a bad thing, because then I got to build the platform, and it's a hell of a lot more fun than working for Wokesters. Sean, TV1, News Hub and TV1 decided to make a song and dance about the haka. Very good, Murray. A song and dance about the haka. I got it, even if many didn't.